gentlemen, welcome back to HMP. It's time for some spring cleaning, and we're cleaning out our queues like Dalton cleans out the ruffians of a small island town. As this week we cover the remake of one of the classics, Roadhouse. I am your host, Adam Portress, and my motto has always been pain don't hurt, but then I stub my toe on the couch and lie around on the floor for an hour crying about how it hurts. It hurts a little bit this week, everybody, because I am by myself. That it is, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think we planned things all too well. I think we all were like, hey, we got this ready. We're going to be covering the Roadhouse remake. Who doesn't want to talk about that one? It's free on Amazon Prime, or we just have to call it Prime now. Don't call it Amazon Prime. Don't dilute the brand. But it's on Prime right now and streaming and everything. Should it have gone to theaters? We'll talk about that. But man, we are in primetime shape for it all. But what can we do? What can we do? It is Easter. It's Easter, and everybody's been moving around and shaking. I've been doing some things today. Had a little bit of turkey in me, a little tryptophan. Any excuse that I can have, turkey's not just for Thanksgiving, of course. You can do it anytime, but anytime that you can get the excuse to make the whole big bird, I tend to enjoy it. But with that and everything, the boys need to be off with their families doing that thing, and that's always good. But you know what? We soldier on here at H&B because I don't know what you know about this here program, but we have been doing it come, I believe, May, if not mistaken. So very, very soon here. We'll be coming up on finishing 8 years of this show. We've been continuing going on. It's been quite amazing. And we've been doing it because of guys and gals like you who support the show over at patreon.com/HMP. Not only do you get, like I said, all the bonus stuff, the pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone. I don't know what I'm doing for any of those things this week because I'm by myself. Those are usually best when conversing with other people as opposed to just having the echo back to yourself. At the same time, too, though, I just now realized that there's probably about, the majority of the audience right now that goes, an Adam only episode? Well, we're skipping that one. Don't. Please don't. I need the support. But if you can support this show, boom, see what I'm doing there? Support us over at patreon.com/HMP. Again, you guys are really, really awesome, and I appreciate all of you. And do know that everything that we do is because you guys continue to keep telling us that that's what you want from us. And as long as you continue to do that, we will continue to sully on this journey as well. And we thank all of you guys for that. And if you'd like to, just do that or drop on down to the iTunes. Give us a 5-star review, a.k.a. Humdinger. It's been a minute. It's been since October 2023. What gives? What gives? Come on. Grab somebody's phone. Do it when they're not looking. Somebody you go into a restaurant with them sometime this week. They're going to be like, oh, man, I got to go to the restroom. And you go, don't take your phone in there. That's being gross. And while they're there, take their phone, go to the iTunes, 5-star review, say humdinga, humdinga, humdinga with all exclamation points. And then just put it back and say, you know what? Weren't you happy that you went to the restroom and that you didn't have your phone and that you were disconnected from all of that stuff? Didn't it feel like the 90s again while you were in the toilet with no phone? God, it was so much better time, wasn't it? You can do that at any iTunes there, or just email us, man. We'd like to hear from you. HeroMoviePodcast@gmail.com. It's been a minute since we had one of those. Let's get into it. I have zero idea how long this show is going to be today. I have things planned. Things are, the show's going on as per usual. We still got all of your things and stuff. But how long it'll be, let's see how long I ramble. Let's get into it. Here's the IMDb plot line for Roadhouse from 2024. As we all know, IMDb 100% correct in everything they say and or do. Ex-UFC fighter Dalton takes a job as a bouncer at a Florida Keys roadhouse, only to discover that this paradise is not all it seems. Okay, I mean, again, it's one of those. That's a fair assessment of what this movie is. Is it super well written? Not really. Speaking of written, this is written by Anthony Bergozzi. Sure, he did The Nice Guys, co-wrote that, I believe. And Chuck Mondry, this is his first big movie. This is directed by Doug Liman. Doug Liman, of course, did Swingers, Go, The Bourne Identity, Mr. Miss Smith, Jumper, Edge of Tomorrow, and American Made. Still looking to do an Edge of Tomorrow too, from what I remember seeing something. But man, that movie is so good. Especially, that is the movie. Edge of Tomorrow is what I demonstrate home theater stuff for people, because even before the main title sequence is up and everything, during the like Village Roadshow Pictures logo, there is a hit that is so hard and subsonic bass deep that it just shakes the foundation of your home, and it is and it catches people off guard so much because it goes on so long and it's so deep and subsonic, just unreal, so much fun. But Doug Liman, man, good, known for some good action stuff. Let me talk a little bit before I kind of get into this movie proper. Let me just talk about the original Roadhouse, because I'm sure that's a movie that I believe everybody that is listening to this podcast more than likely has seen the original Patrick Swayze Roadhouse. It's been parodied a gajillion times. It's been talked about a million and plus times. If you haven't, I will say this. This is something good for people that if you're a fan of Roadhouse, but you've never really gotten into it, there is a Blu-ray copy. I still believe it's still out there, pretty easily gettable, I would imagine, that has a Kevin Smith, Scott Mosier commentary on it. And this was back when people weren't doing commentaries quite that much. They were still kind of doing them, but they weren't doing them quite like this. And certainly they weren't letting people who had no affiliation with the movie whatsoever actually do a commentary for it. But and if it's not available on the DVD, I'd put fairly good odds on that audio itself is probably on YouTube. And my guess is you could probably sync those two up. I wonder if they would do that for this movie. No, I don't think that they will. Because here's the thing. Roadhouse itself, I think a lot of people, when they heard this as an idea of like, hey, we're taking Roadhouse, we're going to remake it, I think everyone's first initial thought was, why? Why would we be doing this? Is this something that anyone asked for? And a lot of times, we have to ask ourselves, what are we remaking? Why are we remaking this? And certainly you could ask that question of this movie. And at the end of the day, do I have a really good definitive answer as to why they remade this? No. I think Joel Silver still is one of the reasons. Money is one of the reasons that it is. We have the intellectual IP for this is one of the reasons why. It's just like, hey, let's just rewrite this and update it and stuff. So, and we'll talk about, how that kind of stacks up today in comparison to its original counterpoint and everything. But I do want to say that for me, I am somebody who watched Roadhouse much later in life than probably a lot of other folks my age, in their early 40s and stuff. Probably watched Roadhouse at like 11, 12 years old or something like that. Or maybe even earlier than that, some of them. Well, many of the friends that I know in the South, some of those cats were watching things way earlier than they should have been. Like specifically like some horror movies stuff. You're like, wow, you let a 10-year-old watch that. Unbelievable. But I was never one of those kids. So I didn't grow up on Roadhouse. So it's not one of those that like kind of holds a special place in my heart or anything like that. And this may be sacrilege to some folks, but I've never found Patrick Swayze to be like that super manly guy, the guy that you would think would be able to, do all that stuff, like he seems like a theater kid, a tough theater kid, but a theater kid nevertheless. That's the vibe I always kind of got from him. And I mean, he's a super skinny guy too. That was another one where you just saw him as like the great tight jeans doing karate with Sam Elliott and right by the pond there and everything. Just I don't know what's going on. A little shame we didn't have one of those scenes in this movie. But that's just kind of my thoughts on the original Roadhouse and everything. It's an okay film. There's nothing. It's overly celebrated. And again, I understand that it's one of those ones that a lot of people saw when they were, of a particular age and everything, and it sat in their mind and it has become a particular thing. And I think this movie coming in and trying to retell that story in a slightly different way is not the worst thing in the world, because let's be honest, It's Roadhouse. It's not like, we're not. This is not sacrosanct territory here. This can't be a like, well, you've broken the mold. There's no reason to do this again. We'll never do. I mean, because like I said, I think Back to the Future is one of those that I think most people agree on. That's just like, listen, there's no reason for anyone to ever go back and touch this. I mean, like a place, a time, a people. It was like all the stars aligned. No one's asking you to go back and redo that. This isn't that. This is one of these movies that you can go like, that's a premise enough, and you can we can take it and kind of run with it. So if that wasn't enough, let me sell everybody on this new Roadhouse remake, because this sucker's got everything. As I said, this one's produced by Joel Show Me the Cocaine Silver Productions, so at least it's got a budget behind it. First up, we got Jake Gyllenhaal. His next role, I think, will be the Easter Island prequel. Ooh, you see what I did there? On Easter and everything. I'm a bit of a delight. We got Billy Magnuson, best worst name combo ever. We got Weak and Strong. But to be fair, those are the characters that he most often plays. We got Conor McGregor, much like a rose. You can call it any other name you wish. He's still going to be the same thing. We got Ramon Salazar from 24 shows up because, of course, he does. Post Malone is in this movie, and he's not terrible. I mean, he doesn't do much, but for what he does do, in what little bit he is in this thing, he ain't all that bad. Ladies in this film, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. This movie isn't about you, and I know nothing about you or your characters or anything because, well, the movie doesn't want you to know that, and they don't care. But I do know that one of the ladies' names in real life is BK Cannon. That is amazing, but it gets crazier for BK Cannon. We'll get into that. We've got an island setting, bar music constantly, chicken wire, outlandishly drunk customers, a bookstore at the beach, every white lady's dream, biker gangs. You ever been to Myrtle Beach Bike Week? We got boat driving, money stealing, bone cracking, body throwing, choke holding, stab, gratuitous UFC tie-ins and flashbacks, gratuitous workout scene, wide angle lenses galore, and more seamless cuts than an Armani suit. This movie has everything. Like I said, this was not a movie that I was particularly like hype on seeing, or I don't even think I really actually even realized that this was a Doug Liman movie up until maybe a day previous to watching this movie. So I was kind of shocked about that. I was like, oh, we're working with Doug Liman here, so I know that we were going to get, a pretty decent action portion here and everything, and we do. So let's talk a little bit about just kind of from like an aesthetic standpoint. We'll kind of get into the story and stuff like that. But I am a fan of Doug Liman. I'm a fan of what he's kind of been doing over the years. It hasn't always kind of hit like if you listen to HMP, go back to probably a couple hundred episodes at this point and listen to our review of Jumper, which was one of those things where it's like that's a concept and an idea that sounds good and interesting, and may have been an interesting comic book at some point, but as far as movies goes, it just didn't quite, land there or anything. But there's one thing that you can't say about Doug Liman is that like that dude doesn't try. That dude tries with everything that he's doing, and I've loved a lot of his stuff lately. Especially with once you got, like I said, with Edge of Tomorrow and stuff like that. I think he's really getting this wild sense of style and stuff. He's using a ton of wide angle lenses, which I really love, and really just kind of it's bringing an immersive quality to a lot of these things that I don't think we've been seeing in a lot of fights and stuff. And let's be honest, again, I always kind of say this, we're working with 100 years of cinema at this point. We've seen just about every type of kind of fight you could possibly imagine. And I'm not saying that we don't break any glass ceilings in the fight game or anything with this movie, but the action scenes are interesting. They're wild. They're kinetic. Like I said, with the wide angle lens that we're doing it with everything, I can't wait to see some behind the scenes stuff here to see what kind of cameras they're working with and how fast they're going back and forth with some of this stuff. And like I said, there are so many seamless cuts in this show. There's so many shots that are designed and made to look as if they were just these one continuous shots. They're not. they almost kind of go around in like a slight little shuddery kind of fashion, something that I can only akin to the guys that did the Crank movies, Neville Dean and Taylor. It's very Neville Dean and Taylor-esque. That's the only people that I can think of that I look at this aesthetic and go, this is like a highfalutin version of that. Like a highfalutin, like if Neville Dean and Taylor like had a proper cinematographer and just weren't, putting a red camera on the back of a rollerblades and shooting themselves down the Mulholland, whatever. It's somebody is taking a little bit more time with it. That's what you get with this kind of production as opposed to that one. Doug Liman has that kind of swing in the business, but I like what we're doing here as far as like a visual standpoint and everything. It really looks good. So really no complaints about that. I thought the action stuff was quite tight. The fights were very interesting. The fights felt brutal and yet real, but slightly almost comic booky in a sense. But that's kind of what you're looking for in this, and we'll get into. I'll get into why some of the things are just a little bit insane and stuff in this movie. But overall, the action choreography and stuff. If you're looking for that, you're looking for that nice little bit of action here in this. That it is definitely there. Let's talk about Jake Gyllenhaal. Jake Gyllenhaal is one of the more interesting actors in Hollywood right now. And really, if you think back, and I was doing this over the last couple of days here, knowing that this was going to be a movie that we're talking about. Jake Gyllenhaal's like 2 years older than me, so it's like kind of right in the same. Also makes me feel really, really bad. I don't know what this guy, I know what he's doing for health. It's called exercising plus a little bit of something else. But boy, it does make you want to go do a couple of laps. This guy right here. But he is 100% in everything he's doing. Like even in the crappy movies and stuff like that, the man is kind of going all out. And I was trying to go back, especially over the last at least 10, 15 plus years, to really think of anything that you saw Jake Gyllenhaal in and you thought, oh, he's really phoning it home there. It doesn't really exist. You might go back to, and I never saw the movie. I don't think any of us actually saw the movie because we all saw the posters and the trailers and stuff. We were just like, oh, wait, what? And that, of course, was Bubble Boy. I don't think anyone ever actually saw that. We were just like, this looks like the worst idea ever. The Travolta one bad enough. This looks like that, but with what was the guy the Fred is dead or something? You remember that one? I don't know. But it's not good. It didn't look good and was no good there. But okay, but for me, Jake Gyllenhaal has just been one of those guys who has been a consistently good actor. He's with everybody. Everybody from your Denis Villeneuve kind of stuff to your big Marvel movies to just these small little nothings and stuff that he was in. It's kind of astounding. It's kind of astounding what he does. Nightcrawler, I think, was probably the best movie of, what was that, 20, I don't know, whatever year that was. Fantastic. And he was so good in it and got really skinny. So he's done these body transformations several times. This isn't the first boxing and MMA type movie that he's done at this point. The guy continuously gets ripped and then maybe goes down to super skinny. We need you to be fat. We need you to be fat, Jake. Jake, you got to get fat. Get fat for us. We need a little bit of fat going on. Tired of this. Pulling off that shirt and getting all ripped and everything. It's a little bit nuts. But so his character, I think a lot of people got upset at first when they kind of heard this news that Dalton was going to be an ex-UFC fighter. Everybody got real oh my God, bro, they're turning this into a UFC movie. That's what everybody's thought was. They're like, this is gonna be terrible, because that's how they promoted it. That was the first thing that you saw in the promos and stuff. It was oh, it's UFC. He was a UFC fighter, and oh my God, this is gonna be a UFC movie. It's going to be so terrible. Now, It's not a UFC movie, but is there enough UFC branding and other things in this movie to be distracting and annoying? Yes. That also said, if it wasn't UFC, if it was some sort of knockoff that wasn't UFC and it didn't have the giant ring and all the bull crap that's going on and Bruce Buffer, would you believe it? Would that be more distracting or less distracting than the real one? I think I'd rather have the real one just because at least it's a thing. But I don't know. Like, it almost feels like it kind of goes into wrestling territory at that point, you know? It's just, I'm sure there's some sort of, you know, to a degree wrestling aspect of UFC, but like it makes it feel like it's more like wrestling, you know, and not like, you know, an actual sporting event. It's like when you see Wolf Blitzer in like a Mission Impossible movie, you're just like, how am I supposed to take you seriously now as an actual journalist if someone will pay you money and you'll just show up and pretend to be a journalist? And stuff like that. I don't get it. But Jake Gyllenhaal, again, this is another one where he's, you know, just kind of running with it and everything. I like his big giant head. I don't know what it is. He's just got one of these heads, and there are a couple, and he can look so different depending upon where you put him and his head in relationship to the camera. Because it can look so big and giant and, like I said, Easter Island-y kind of quality and everything, and almost like scary. And I'm not talking like just the moments where he's got like all the bloody makeup from being hit in the face a whole bunch, but just like he's got what I call a wood face sometimes. And then there's other times where, like, if you put the camera in I feel like it's a higher angle on him and everything, he looks, you know, more sensitive. He looks like a human being as opposed to, you know, a granite statue or something like that. And that's where, you can start to see the smile and the human being actually starts coming out. But that's one of the tough parts about his role in this movie is I do not know who Dalton is. Now, in the flashbacks and stuff, we see that, you know, he was this UFC fighter. He had this crazy fight and everything with someone who we're to find out is supposedly like his friend and everything. Like, you guys were buddies and stuff, and you fought in the ring. And as he fought in the ring, we find out that he ended up killing his friend. I guess when, like, and they never quite really say it, but it almost feels like they just want to go like, hey, man, when he goes off, and we just kind of can't stop him. And he just kind of keeps going. And even if his buddy's head's not moving, he's still going to punch it a whole bunch. And we just kind of let him go after a while. I feel like that's the vibe they're giving us. Like, listen, man, your boy just goes nuts sometimes, and he's bananas. So he had this reputation, right? And the movie starts. Now, this is a cool way to kind of start it, right? Post Malone plays like this guy who's a fighter, and he, you know, I gotta say, he looks all right. He looks like he would be the type of dude that would be fighting in this kind of underground rednecky sort of thing where everybody's just coming in. He's beating all the comers and stuff like that. He's taking all this money in, and of course, you see this hooded figure walk into the thing, talk to a couple people, sit down, and then all of a sudden, the guy who no one at the entire place will fight. He's like, I've beaten everybody, no comers. Who's taking? Who's coming? Who wants to fight? Who wants to fight? This guy comes in. He gets word and goes, oh, no, I'm not fighting that guy. I quit. I'm out of here. I said, no, man. Oh, you give me anybody in here to fight. I will fight anybody in here. I ain't fighting that guy. And then Jake takes the money, or, what's the character? Dalton takes the money and then walks away. Pretty sweet gig. Pretty sweet gig that you never fight all night. You show up and you just say, hey, look, I'm about to whoop somebody's ass. And they just go like, just give him the money. Just give him the money. But I got to say, though, at that point, people showing up with guns. And that'll be another point that I make in this movie, that there's not enough guns. I don't know what it is. Maybe we're in the Florida Keys. I think I know Florida. They got guns in Florida. What the hell's going on here? Why there ain't nobody with guns going on? It's a little strange here. So he's this guy that just kind of goes around and as always in these films, there's a lady that comes up to him and just goes, I hear you're a good fighter. Looks like we need a little somebody to help out our bar. It still is one of the best stupid plot crap ever. It makes me smile and laugh so hard that like these businesses, these places of work cannot keep it together enough to where they're like, you know what we got to do? We got to hire somebody. What do you mean, like a bouncer or something like that? No. We got bouncers. Bouncers we got. Our problem is that our patrons are just a little bit too unruly, right? But that's when the bouncers would come in and just get the guys and stuff. Yeah. Normally that would be the case, right? But the thing is like our bouncers, they're like, I don't know, maybe they just don't know what to do. But what I'm thinking, we can't call the cops. I'm sure about that because, we'll find out later. But what if we just get, and hear me out. What if we get a fighter that killed somebody to come in? I can't listen. I have rhymes nor reasons for you as to why this will work, but I got a good feeling on this one. I got a good feeling. I think we're gonna get this guy, this former UFC guy who just used to beat people to a pulp, and that I somehow knew to find in this underground fight thing in the middle of flipping nowhere. At that point, first of all, you do have to be a little bit flattered, So like, oh, you found me all the way out here, and of course, he eventually goes down to do it because plot is really the reason why this happened. He goes down there, and of course, the first person that he meets is a plucky young black girl who runs a library that her dad kind of owns and everything. And he works at another real job and stuff too. Cute kid and stuff. She is straight out of you just wrote this. You know what I'm saying? It's like they were like, you know what he needs? A plucky little black girl. Nope, she's going to be great. And she is. She serves her purpose. She flims the plot exactly where it needs to go and stuff. She provides a computer for him to look up some information and stuff up on, which I also find hilarious because, again, this is a guy, because he's on that cusp, and I'm going to put him directly in the Gen X cusp because he's like right on it. So as I'm the cusp at the other direction, he's the cusp at the other one. It's funny for a Gen Xer that he looks at the computer monitor and tries to do it and tries to taco it like an iPad. And you're like, what? I mean, like, he might be bad with technology and stuff, and I get that, but like he's trying to iPad a computer monitor in a library in the middle of the Florida Keys. Okay, done. Well, anyway, so what happens is, he gets all the kind of lowdown about what's going on and all that stuff. There's the worst kind of Abbott and Costello routine about Roadhouse and why maybe this thing's called a Roadhouse. Roadhouse. I think it's called a Roadhouse. Why is it Roadhouse? I don't know. It's boring and it's stupid and it doesn't make any sense. But we'll get to another thing that doesn't make sense in a couple of minutes. But it turns out ultimately that Billy Magnuson's character is he's kind of his dad is in prison. He's kind of a muckety muck and everything. Had a whole bunch of money and stuff. He's in prison right now. And Billy's kind of been left the fortune, and he's been left to run all this kind of stuff. And he's been buying up every place in the area. It's a real estate scheme. How about that, everybody? It's another Superman real estate scheme. But but he's going through and he's trying to make things bad. But again, sometimes you just want to be like, just sell the place. Just sell the place. Just get out of there. Just, what is it worth? Because man, oh man, the degenerates that end up in this bar. Why would you, at this point, why would you sell? Why wouldn't you sell? It's an absolute nightmare. People are getting drunk there all the time, and not just starting, a little bit of brouhaha. No, sirree, Bob. We are getting into all-out warfare, and it's not something that even escalates from like a 2 to a 6, and then all of a sudden, nope, we are right at 10, or damn near right away. We're rolling into it, and all of a sudden, it's just like, oh, you this, oh, you that, boom, 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 and next thing you know, tables are flipping. How could you get anyone to work at this place? Every night, the tables are all flipped up. By the way, are we not nailing down the tops to tables anymore? Is that what's going on here? Why are these things flipping it all over the place here? Have a little bit of carpentry in your lives, people. But all of these things it's like every single night. And then, of course, the best part is when we get Dalton in there, he starts training up the other guys. Not quite nearly as cool and everything as we did in the original Roadhouse. We never get anybody to, he says, what character says it once in the movie, but he never tells anybody to, like, be nice and like, these are the rules and all that kind of stuff. It's all kind of implied and whatnot. So he gets those other guys to kind of do that, and they're doing an okay job, I guess. But I will say this, when it comes to Dalton, like springing into action and everything, there is no such thing. There is no such thing as Dalton going like, I feel like he's got to have like really bad lower back problems or something, because he's not one to quickly get up and start running into the fray. Like he'll kick ass when he gets there, but like getting up real quick might hurt that back or something. I don't know. He's always waiting until things get to an absolute fever pitch. The second you start seeing anyone stand up in a bar and goes, "I'll cut you, you MFer," or something like that, you as the bar security need to step up and go, you know what? I need to stop this before it escalates. Not, he smashed a bottle over his head. Let's see where this goes. Hold it. Hold. He sits there. The bar is damn near on fire a couple of times. And he finally sits up and goes, well, I mean, he's kind of like Voltron, He's sitting up in the wings just waiting for his cue here and everything. And just go like, well, feels like we're up to a fever pitch at this point. Time to turn on the ass whooping. And then he turns it on, and, scene ends. Now, all along the exact same time, right? Billy Magnuson's dad's character is in prison, and he sends out a guy named Knox. That's the Conor McGregor character. He sends him out to just go hunt down Dalton and get him. So, yeah, listen. Here's the thing, man. Conor McGregor just plays himself. Let's be honest. Is he terrible at playing himself? No. He's not called upon to do a ton of things in this, but I will say this, as far as athletes go in movies, I have seen so much worse than this. He's really not all that bad. Luckily, he's playing a character that is much like himself. Very cocky, very sure of himself, very all over the place. But like I said, I don't know if I said this on like a Dinger Zone or the end of like an episode or something, but I did see Conor McGregor going on some of the press tour and stuff with Jake Gyllenhaal, talking about their experience with this. And it was interesting to see Conor McGregor just be real humble about everything. He was just like, listen, when I walked out there, I was just like, when it comes to this, it's like, Jake, you're the black belt. You're the guy here that does everything. I'm the white belt. I don't know what I'm doing. Like the fight stuff, we'll work with that, and I can show you some stuff. As far as the acting stuff, show me some things. I feel like he actually wanted to do well with this. And let's be honest with ourselves. A lot of these wrestlers don't always come out with the best acting. Dave Bautista, I'm looking in your direction. No, man, Dave Bautista's a really good actor. Is he though? It's not. Batista's better than Conor McGregor. I'll give him that much. I'll give you that much, Batista. You're better than Conor McGregor. But then again, Conor McGregor, this is also this role is to Conor McGregor what Eminem's role was to him in 8 Mile. It's like, what kind of a stretch are we really working with here? You know what I'm saying? And there's several scenes where you're just like, okay. Here's what we're going to do. Connor, we're going to need you to strip down butt ass naked, and we're going to need you to just walk around this big giant bazaar, smiling at everybody, and then just rob this giant man of his clothing and stuff, and we'll set the town on fire. Like that's like a plot of how this goes. And so it is kind of fun because he is this wild, crazy, unhinged character that you barely even understand why he's in this movie. Like, he is almost just this wild agent of chaos, right? He's not even just a regular person. He's just evil incarnate flowing through the Florida Keys, catching whatever drift he can and just burning down the place. He flies up every place that he goes to. He's driving his car. He wrecks the car as he drives it, which I honestly believe was a Conor McGregor thing. It feels like that is absolutely apropos to him. Like, I know how to drive, but I never really learned how to stop it properly. So we just kind of hit a tree and then boom, get out of the car and do his Conor McGregor walk all the way there. Which, by the way, he's got that walk. It's this weird little, his saunter and stuff like that. But I gotta say to you folks out there, and I don't know if you fall into this category, and if you do, God bless you. But I see a lot of people walking funny these days. Like not in a funny way, but like not I say funny, but not funny, but like, it is so bizarre to me how like there are so many people that are just walking a lot like Conor McGregor does in this movie, which is just like your toes are pointed outwards and everything. And it's just this kind of like sauntering, waddling back and forth and stuff like that. And like, it's not a good gait. And I worry for people, and I look at it and it's just like, that can't be comfortable. Can't be comfortable walking like that. Some of you guys need to like get on a treadmill, start putting that one foot in front of the other kind of thing, man. Just get those knees closer together. It feels like I'm watching Conor McGregor walk away. I'm just like, how often is this guy riding horses? What's going on? It seemed really weird. I feel like a lot. Just look at how you're walking. That happened to me. I'm flat-footed and stuff, but there was a time in high school where I caught myself walking funny, and I was just like, oh God, no. And so I made like conscious decision that point out and everything to just be like, try to keep yourself on the straight and narrow. And I think a lot of us are getting into that kind of like elderly walk around a mall phase when you're in your 20s. It's like, that's not a good thing, bro. Don't be doing that. But Conor McGregor's fine. He's good, obviously, because coming from the fighter background and everything, he looks fantastic in those scenes. As I said previously, Jake's done enough movies where he's been, either a UFC fighter or a boxer or, anything else. The guy's enough of a physical specimen that he can, look like he knows what he's doing in there as well. Surprisingly enough, though, we don't see Billy Magnuson do a whole bunch of fighting, though he has done some fighting in other movies and stuff like that. So I was kind of surprised that we didn't see him doing too awful much in this. Let's talk about the music in the bar. The music is good because obviously that was a decent part of the original Roadhouse and everything. The music here is it's fine. Nothing really to write home about. Nothing to nothing to super damn or anything. I did love the Sublime cover. I thought that was pretty sweet. Was that it, or was that a TikTok video I just saw? Maybe it was the other one, but there was one cover. They did a cover song in there. I forgot what it was, but it was good. It's okay, but I love the kind of, and I wish they probably would have addressed this at some point, because while there is utter chaos and mayhem going down in a bar, the band plays on, baby. The band is always playing. Things are going on. People are getting stabbed. One can only assume several are being killed in the present moments. But that band, boy, they keep on playing. They can do but I do like at the one point that Conor McGregor like rips open the chicken wire and sticks his head in there like Jack Nicholson in The Shining. It was kind of amazing. Let's quick. I want to talk about a couple other like I said, I was looking for a little bit of information on, different people and stuff. So this BK Cannon, young lady, she plays a bartender in this show and everything. And I was like, BK Cannon, first of all, amazing name. She was born on August 27th, 1990 in in Hawaii. So she's from Hawaii. White girl though, so but more from Hawaii than some of the most other whatever. But anyway, dig this. I was looking for a little information. I'm like, well, what does BK stand for? That's ultimately what I was looking for. But while I did not come across that information, I did come across this information. At the age of 3, BK Cannon was diagnosed with neuroblastoma, a rare childhood cancer. Over several years, she retrieved treatment at, I'm going to screw the name up, I'm sorry, Capellini Medical Center for Women and Children at the University of California, San Francisco. After countless rounds of radiation and chemotherapy, she ultimately received a bone marrow transplant as part of an experimental study that would save her life and become the standard for treatment in neuroblastoma today. That's pretty freaking cool. That was 1993. This girl was born in 1990. So like 1993, they did an experimental bone marrow thing for this disease. It worked, and that became the standardized thing because of this girl. I thought that was pretty friggin' awesome. I was like, man, look at that. I don't know what the BK stands for. I must say it's British Knights as far as I'm concerned. But daggum, dude, that's pretty sweet. Again, one of the things about this thing, and like I said, she plays a bartender in this show, and frankly, I think she's a lot to blame for the things that are going on here because these customers are drunk constantly. It is 10 o'clock in the morning, and these people are already soused out of their minds and ready to just cut somebody. I don't understand it. But, what are you going to do? So that's, you shouldn't be over serving on this. And at the same time, too, there's a question of where are the cops? Now, we do find that, you know how it is, obviously. The girl that, he was going after and everything, she's the daughter of the chief of police, who's played by Joaquin de Alameda, who I'm just going to call Salazar because that's where I know him from. I mean, he's been in Clear and Present Danger, and he's Bucho in Desperado. That was another one. He was amazing. He's amazing in Desperado. But he's like... I think he's somebody within the police and stuff like that. So that's why the police aren't kind of coming around. So at least I'll give the movie credit because there are so many times you're just going, where are the cops? You gonna call cops? Could you call anybody? Could you call anybody about this? I don't understand. Also, a thing that I don't understand, and again, I had said it previously, we're in Florida. Where are the guns? Where are the guns? You know what I'm saying? I feel like any of your staff in your joint there having a sidearm could help stop any of this. Or hear me out. If Dalton decided to stand up and actually do things before the bar started to catch on fire, and instead actually intervened, what if that was a thought? Could that have been something that he done? Maybe a bridge too far. There's a subplot, and see, this is where the movie kind of gets me, and like where I'm not 100% sure as to what we're supposed to be thinking about Dalton. Is Dalton a hero, so to speak? I mean, obviously he's a guy who snapped and stuff. So is he kind of an anti-hero because he just kind of killed somebody? We're not, you just don't quite get it. You're not quite sure because he's the protagonist of the story. You can definitely say that he's the protagonist of the story, but you're not quite sure if you like him. You're not quite sure if he's all there. Like I said, every now and then you'll see like that little bit of Nightcrawler in his eye where like, you're just like, ooh, is he firing on all cylinders? Is he okay? What's going on with this man? He's having these weird flashback dreams and stuff like that. Is he gonna go mental on someone? We don't know. And so at a point where he ends up going and taking a crooked cop and killing him and kind of blackmailing him for some other stuff and things like that. Some of that's a little bit like, what are we doing here? I think we just kind of needed to have an interesting and fun sort of ending. And I think with Doug Liman at this point, it feels like he needs to do some of that with like Your American Made. Feels like the same sort of like, All right, listen, we need some cool stuff here to happen at the end, and what's cool, we'll get a whole bunch of money. That seems cool. We'll just put a whole big trunk of money, and then we'll just have him get beat up a whole bunch of times, and then that'll be it. Then we'll hand off some money, and Bob's your uncle. There you go. But ultimately, listen, this movie is a lot like, well, let's be frank, the original Roadhouse. What's that movie about? It's a guy that comes into town, has to, help clean up this bar and everything, does a little bit of karate with his shirt off, makes it with a lady, and that's about it. And then credits. This isn't too awful much further off from that. Now, let's compare this, though, to another Patrick Swayze remake. Several years ago, Christmas Day, they released the Point Break remake. Who was in that Point Break remake? I don't even remember, but it was not good. Let me tell you what happened on that Point Break. I went into that thing 2015. It was Christmas Day. I remember that very specifically because I was like, all right, I'm going to go see a movie on Christmas Day. And I'm like, let's go see the Point Break remake. I know it's going to be terrible, but whatever. I buy a ticket. I am the only person in the theater. I pick a seat, assigned seating, right in the middle. So then I go inside, I use the bathroom, I get my popcorn, I get my drink, and then I go sit down in the theater, and I'm waiting. I look at my clock, and I'm like, what's going on here? This movie should have started. And I look at my ticket, and I'm like, oh, crap, I am in the wrong theater. So I go to the proper theater that I'm supposed to be going to. And again, this is Christmas Day. There's nobody out here. Now, as I was purchasing my ticket, I did notice someone else that was walking up behind me. Now, when I walk into the theater, guess who I find in that theater with me as well? The guy who was walking up right behind me, who I saw walking up right behind me. He saw me leaving, and then he came, and guess where he pointed? He pointed to the seat that was right beside mine, the one that shared an armrest. This guy, out of all the seats in the theater, chose the one not only right beside me, but right beside me that we would share an armrest together. What a monster. So I didn't sit in that seat. I sat in like 2 rows back because I was just like, no way in hell I'm doing this. I sit 2 rows back. No one's coming in. So I was like, it's fine, whatever. As the trailers are going in, guess what? I am now sitting in the space of 2 people that have already bought tickets. And they're like, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Let me get out of here. I'm just going to leave. So this guy, he's nuts. He bought a ticket that's right beside mine. He saw me, like, I'm pleading my case to these people, and they're being so cool about it. They're like, no, dude, you just sit there. We'll just go back a row. And they went back a row when they sat and they were fine and everything was cool. That entire movie, my brain was just going, oh my God, I want to kill this man. What is going on? Why would we do? I was just freaking out the entire time. Then the movie's no good. This new Roadhouse, it ain't that. It ain't that. It's a good movie. Oh boy, if you'd have put me, changed the movies, you know what? I would have ignored everything. I would have been like, you know what? It doesn't matter that I've had a horrible time. This movie kind of kicks ass. But because you know what didn't kick ass? Point Break in 2015. Because not only did you not have a Keanu Reeves, you didn't have a Kurt Russell. You had nothing. You had nothing going on here. Or Kurt Russell. What did I say? Patrick Swayze. You didn't have none of those. You didn't have Kurt Russell either, though. It's a late day. But this is not that. This is so much better in just about every way. At least it feels like we're having fun in this movie. Because let me ask you this. Who's in that Point Break movie? Do you remember? Because I looked it up and I did not remember. And I won't even tell you, because if I told you the name, she'd be like, who's that again? But you know who you wouldn't say that about? Our final guy here. We got to get to him. That's right. Before we get to my final review, we got to ask ourselves how this Roadhouse ripoff relates back 1-to-1 with Sylvester Stallone. And thank you, Adam. I have a paired statement. Sup, Mr. Stallone? Did you have a good Easter? Well, I hope so. I had a good one myself. Thanks for asking. You know, one of the elements of my good Easter came from watching this new Roadhouse remake. You know, as far as remakes go, it ain't all that bad. You don't seem to be a guy who other people, want to remake your movies. You ever think about that? And I guess I understand it. If anyone's going to be making the bad decisions, you know that you'd much rather it be you, right? Of course, that is unless, of course, they give you a big payday by staying away. So, if that case, I guess they can have at it, right? Speaking of having at it, I thought I had it in the bag with a few people in the cast and crew this week. Now, I knew Jake Gyllenhaal was out because there ain't no way you're co-starring with a guy that tall and good looking. That's your job, Mr. Stallone. I know. Check better be in the mail. But I thought there would be a decent chance that you could have done something with director Doug Liman. He's done a ton of varied action things, and as I talked about, no, through even all that, no Stallone. Next up was, I mentioned him previously, Joaquin de Alameda. This dude has 153 credits on IMDb. He's a guy of color, but you're not quite sure where he's from. Ergo, the chances that Stallone has cracked this man's skull in a movie where he played an ethnicity that was not his own is probably pretty good. I got to tell you, Mr. Stallone, I thought that one was a lock. Cue the Price is Right music. No, not that one. The Womp Womp one. Yeah, that's the one. I thought it was going to be a breeze, but no. But then it was there. Tall, salt and pepper in the beard. A real steal your lady at the Whole Foods kind of vibe to him. Jeff Brockton. First off, killer name. Jeff Brockton is a guy who I'd vote for city council and is also the guy that he punched out a horse because they don't belong in that part of town. You know what I'm saying, Jeff? Jeff knows what I'm talking about. Jeff has been in a gajillion things. What might you ask? Oh, that's easy. He's been in everything from The X-Files. He's been in Blade. He's been in the 1998 Godzilla. You knew that. You thought it was something else? No, but he's been in Terminal Velocity, High Tide, Star Trek Generations, Mad TV, Money Talks, Air America, Running Scared, Scream 3, Coyote Ugly, The One. That's the one with Jet Li in it. You remember that crap. We covered that on this show. He's been in everything from The Longest Yard with Adam Sandler to Alias to Desperate Housewives, the Poseidon Adventure remake, Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny, Ocean's 13, CSI Miami. It goes on and on and on and on. Even 24. I mentioned 24 reason here earlier. But the reason that we're all here and the reason that I'm typing this so desperately to take up as much time on the show as humanly possible is because I need you to love me. And just like Jeff Broxton, and likely had his work cut out for him, especially since he was uncredited, on the set of 2013's Escape Plan, starring the biggest action star of all time, and you, Sylvester Stallone. I'm sorry, what? You think that you're the biggest action star over Arnold? On what grounds? Number of films? No. Total box office? You got to be putting me on. Listen, we love you, Mr. Stallone. And despite this show going on for nearly 8 years and not one peep from you, nothing. A 16-second video on TikTok, Mr. Stallone. What could that hurt? I mean, at this rate, I don't even care if he sees any of the bits, hears any of it. He probably won't even like them. But you know what? If anyone hasn't, just done it so far, why? Why haven't you just at least shown him? But somebody should at least tell him, because as an idea, the Stallone connection is a pretty damn funny one. And that one we've been doing for week after week, month after month, and year after year. And you know what? It would be nice if we had just a little tip of the cap, a little attaboys, a little come to me to the south of France. Here are some cigars. Have fun, fellas. But no. Despite all the neglect, though, Mr. Stallone, we still love you. And we love the fact that each week we can keep going back to this well for this silly-ass bit that somehow God has yet to put in front of your big, giant, beautiful head. Or at least, if he has, you haven't known about us all along and haven't said anything. And what can I say? It's just rude that, you knew about us and you're not saying anything. At least tell us where to get off, And there you have it, Mr. Stallone. This week's Stallone connection is none other than stuntman Jeff Brockton. Will Sean be back next week? How's about you acknowledge this podcast and then we'll see what's what? That's from Awesome Adam from the internet. Yeah. All right, let's get into it. Let me break down on the patented Robin rating system where the new 2024 Roadhouse falls. Like I said, I enjoy Jake Gyllenhaal. I think he's a fantastic actor. I think he's probably one of the best actors of his generation and everything. I think he makes very smart choices with the movies that he makes. I think he's somebody who does all the stuff really well. He's a good comedic actor. He's a good dramatic actor. The dude just kind of has it all. And he's the reason why him and Doug Liman are the reasons why this movie works. It's a bunch of fun, but like you like this movie, I think for a lot of the same reasons that you would probably like the original Roadhouse, is that like it is that just kind of dude sort of movie. The fights are very dude-esque. And again, I think the final kind of confrontational fight and everything is pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. One of the best ever. I wouldn't go so far as to say all of that, but I would say it was pretty good. I enjoyed just about everything. I wish there probably would have been some maybe a little bit better music cues here and there, but that's a little nitpicky, a little too complainy and stuff. I do wonder though how this movie would have done in theaters, and I feel like this movie could have definitely been in theaters. I don't know how well it could have done because let's be frank, marketing is bad these days. I don't think they know how to market anything to people, and frankly, I don't even know that people know quite how they want to be advertised to either. So it's tough to say. Maybe Amazon is the place for this, but I wonder how this would have done in a theater. I think this most assuredly is the quality of something that you would find in a theater. Like you said, when you have your Jake Gyllenhaal and your Doug Liman on board here, you're going to get a pretty darn good quality product out of it. And this show definitely has that. I'm going to go high Tim Drake. I really enjoyed this. I wouldn't mind. It's definitely one that you wouldn't mind having on in the background and then like look up during all the cool action scenes and stuff like that. Again, Doug Liman flick, really good sound and stuff like that. So high recommendation as far as the surround sound and all that kind of good stuff goes. So beautiful there. But yeah, I would definitely say if you're a fan of the original Roadhouse, and you're not someone who's that kind of take it to the grave kind of person, if you know what I mean. There are those people that are just like, man, that was the thing that I saw when I was a kid. And I got to be completely honest with you, bro. It's sacrosanct. There ain't nothing that you can do. You can't remake like it is gold in the way that it is. And like I thought that way with Red Dawn. Like, Red Dawn's a piece of garbage too, but like they remade that, and guess what? Also still a piece of garbage. So, you can try as many times as you want with all the same sort of stuff. As long as Joel Silver's there to make a buck, by God, it's going to happen. And hopefully we'll see some more of that kind of stuff there in the future. But that's it, everybody. A full episode for me. Look at that. Holy smokes, been talking for a full hour. We thought we might do a short show today. Hell no, boy. I can yap about nothing forever and a day. You best believe it. And if you've been here this entire time, God bless you too as well. It's because of you. It's because of you that we do this show, and that I continue to make sure that we do this show every single week. Within the 8 years that this show has been on, since we decided to go weekly and everything, which was very soon after we started, we've only missed one show. And that was because I was just so sick of COVID, and these two just didn't do the show. And even with Easter, they were like, Sean was like 2 days out, couldn't do it. Then Bruce like couldn't do it. I'm like, you know what? Damn it, I'm doing it no matter what. And if you've stuck around all the way to the end, thank you so much. You are a class act, a true friend, and we'd like to hear from you over at patreon.com/HMP. Because if you made it here, guess what? You that kind of people, and we want you over there. Get yourself pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone. Will I have any of those things this week? I have no bloody idea. It's late as crap, and I got to be up. But I love you. I love you so much. We'll see us next week. We're going to be, again, we're spring cleaning here. We're going around covering a couple things that we quite haven't seen. And we're going to check out a couple of episodes of Shogun on Hulu, getting a lot of good word of mouth out there. So we're going to check out that. Join us next week for the absent Hartford Haley and Sweet Shanzi Kovacs from the internet. Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Porteous. Stay super, everybody.